Hola chicos, ¿cómo están? This is Spanish with Danny and Danny's first ever live video on Facebook. I have no idea how it works, so we're going to learn together how this goes. Why am I going live today? Well, I was actually just kind of reading through my journal and I found a post that I like that I think is, well, a post, something I wrote that I like that I think is really interesting and relevant to you guys who are interested in Latin American cultures and learning Spanish. So that's what I wanted to go live about today. I'm so excited. If somebody would like throw me like a like or like a heart or like a comment or like just showers and showers of love, that would be very exciting for me on my first live video. So I would really appreciate it. Anyways, so I'm gonna read you little bits of my journal, and I'm going to share this quote with you guys. Anyways, okay, so I was thinking about it. I was thinking about this quote that I really like, and the quote is, and it could be like quotes Danny style, like a little change, but basically it's something like this: plan as if you'll live forever, and live as if you'll die tomorrow. Think about that. Plan as if you'll live forever and live as if you'll die tomorrow. Now, I thought that this was really interesting, and I've heard this a few times. I always really liked it, and it's something that really makes me think because it almost sounds like those two things perhaps like can't go together or are difficult and to balance. And I think that that's actually the key. That there's an indication there that there has to be a balance. Um, I wrote here, plan as if you'll live forever, live as if you'll die tomorrow. I love this. I do love this. It's tricky. It indicates the importance of a fine balance. That is the key to so many things in life, right? So if you think about it, um, it's not impossible, but it does indicate the importance of a fine balance, the key to so many things in life, which is hard to reach. It's hard to reach a fine balance in so many areas of our life. And it takes trial and error to find what the balance is for you, and it takes time to calibrate. So sometimes we're, a little off, and it takes time and trial and error for us to figure out where that fine balance lies for us. But I do think that this is something that's really important to strive for. Plan as if you'll live forever, live as if you'll die tomorrow. And it's related to Spanish and Latin American cultures and travel. Why? Well, when I travel, I always think about what I can learn from the culture that I'm being immersed in that trip. And I also think about what my culture can teach them. I like this idea of exchanging the best pieces of different cultures. And so I always think about what I can learn from the culture wherever I am, and also what they can learn from me and my culture and cultures, I should say. And actually, this quote in particular makes me think of Cuba and Canada. I was in Cuba in September, as many of you know. And I think in a lot of ways, Canada and Cuba can represent two extremes. Here in Canada, I see a lot of people planning as if they'll live forever, right? But we don't see this living as if you'll die tomorrow. I see a lot of people in Canada with their lives sort of on hold. They're waiting for a moment when things will be better, right? They're waiting to lose weight. They're waiting to get a partner. They're waiting for a better job. They're waiting for something. They're just waiting for another moment than the present moment where something will be better and when they'll be able to relax and enjoy. But that moment almost feels like it doesn't come. And a lot of people here are very stressed out. They sort of like lose sight of priorities. Sometimes we get caught up in things that aren't as important. I almost feel like sometimes there's a sense of like we forget day to day that we're alive and that we can have joy every day, and in every, you know, there can be joy in every day. We don't have to wait for a moment in the future. And also that we have all we need to feel joy. We don't have to wait till something else is the case to feel this joy. Um, and it's interesting because in Canada, things are somewhat stable, unchanging, right? It's very likely that we'll be alive tomorrow, although often we're reminded, by some unexpected events that you never know. I experienced something like that on June 12th this summer. I saw a woman on a bike and she was hit by a truck and she didn't make it. And, that was a reminder uh, for me that you just never know. Things can seem very stable and you just really never know. But like I said, things are somewhat stable in Canada, and it's likely we'll be alive tomorrow. And so we're kind of doing this planning as if we'll live forever. In Cuba, we see a little bit of the opposite, right? Things are very unstable. People are very aware that what they have today, they might not have it tomorrow. Um, and so there's this sense in Cuba that if an opportunity comes by, you go for it, right? If a girl walks by and you like her, you go say hi because you're not going to lose that opportunity, because you never know when an opportunity like that's going to come up again. And they don't wait. They don't let the time pass. They do enjoy the moment. Um, Often like a little bit of money comes their way, they spend it, they enjoy it. They're almost so present, even at times I would say even too present. Um, Not to make a judgment, but um, well, I'll go into that a little bit later. But they're almost like they're ever adapting. They're in flow, right? But there's this, which can be very wonderful and positive. Like a lot of beautiful things happen when we're in flow and when we're present, and it's definitely something to aim for. At the same time, I felt in Cuba this time like I saw a lot of trauma amongst the people. They seem to me to be very traumatized. Um, and this side is often ignored by the tourist, right? And I think this is part of why they're so beautiful. But there's a lot of trauma there. There's a lot of trauma by knowing that you might not have what you need to survive tomorrow. Traumatized by knowing that people around them are in survival mode. That it's a place that's constantly full of tourists who are nowhere close to survival mode, but the people who live there are. Um, and I think there's also a lot of trauma because most Cubans have family outside of Cuba. So there's kind of like these split families and peer groups, and it can be a very painful thing. Um, and so it's a really interesting dynamic. It's almost like they can learn something from us about planning as if you'll live forever, and we can learn something from them about living as if you'll die tomorrow. And I really do think like these seem like they represent two extremes, and maybe that it would be difficult to find a balance. I really do think that so many beautiful things in life are achieved by finding that balance. And how do we find that balance? Trial and error, and just this like trying to get there and this calibrating. And sometimes we go too much one way and sometimes we go the other way, and we need to try to get back to that fine balance. I do think that this is an interesting dynamic, and it represents something that we could learn from certain cultures, and that certain cultures perhaps could learn from us. So I wanted to share that with you guys. I'm curious what you guys think about it. Oh my God, I have a person listening. I've been talking live for 8 minutes and 15 seconds. I can't believe. Ay, Teresa, ¿cómo estás? Ay, me manda saludos. Bueno, saludos a ti también. Gracias por estar con nosotras hoy. You're my first live viewer. Mwah. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. And I'm excited about my first live video. I hope you guys are too. And I'm excited to hear what you guys think. Leave it in the comments below and we'll get a discussion going. Ciao chicos, besos, que tengan un lindo día.